Hey Todd, so continuing talking about then and now, I was thinking we could switch to talking about just life in general.
Sounds good.
So my first question for you is, are movies today more interesting than before?
Well, I'm going to sound like an old guy, but I would say no, movies are not more interesting today. Movies were much better 20, 30 years ago. The stories were better. They were more interesting. These days, movies just have too much special effects, and
Hmm.
there's too many movies about superheroes. I hate movies about
Oh.
superheroes. So, yeah, I think movies used to be more interesting.
Hmm.
What do you think?
I have the opposite opinion of you. I think movies today are more interesting than before. Maybe I'm too used to a lot of special effects. So when I watch some older movies, the story might be interesting, but I get a little bored watching it. And actually, I love superhero movies. So
Oh, really?
I would say that, yes, any superhero movies, Spider-Man or Batman especially is my favorite. So those movies for me are more interesting than in the past.
Okay. Well, we're talking about comparatives, so
Right.
who's cooler, Batman or Spider-Man?
Oh, Batman,
Yeah.
hands down.
I'm sorry, I think Spider-Man's really lame. I've never liked Spider-Man.
He kind of whines a lot.
He looks like a kid in his pajamas.
He is a kid in his pajamas.
Maybe that's it.
Whereas Batman has a lot of skills that he's developed himself.
He,
So,
true, true. Okay, well, how about Batman? So you like, who was better?
who's the best Batman?
Yeah,
Who's the
who's the better?
better
Well, I'd say
Batman?
who was better?
Right.
Who was the last one? It was
Well,
oh,
the most recent Batman was Ben Affleck,
yeah.
but I didn't watch that one.
Oh, okay.
So before that, there was Christian Bale.
Oh, that's right.
So without having seen Ben Affleck, I would still say that Christian Bale was a better Batman.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. Okay, so let's talk about other things. How about the news? With news, are you more knowledgeable these days than before, say 5, 10 years ago?
Actually, I think I am less knowledgeable than before. There's a lot of news out there, and it's easy to access the news, but there's so much news coming from so many sources. I'm not sure which news source is more trustworthy. So I think it's more difficult now to find the correct news or the true news. What do you think?
I agree. Sadly, I think I'm less knowledgeable because before I would read the newspaper or I would read magazine articles or I would listen to better news stories on the news.
Mm.
These days, I just look at a Facebook headline
Yeah,
and I don't even read the article.
yeah.
So I don't even know what's going on sometimes, which is terrible for a man my age.
Terrible for anyone, I think.
Yeah, I think it's because I think the news was more honest than before, than now. I'm sorry. I think the news is less honest these days. It used to
Mm,
be more honest.
yeah,
I just don't trust the news anymore.
yeah. I don't really trust it either.
Yeah, less trustworthy.
So, along those lines, would you say social media makes life better or worse for people?
I think it's both. Like I think it's 2 points better, 3 points worse.
Mm,
So it's a negative. It's better
okay,
because you can keep track with so many family members, especially if you're far away.
right.
So I like how it connects people, but yeah, it just makes people sad sometimes, or makes them frustrated about their life, maybe.
Right.
So yeah, I don't think it makes life better. But I'm
Yeah.
an old guy, so
No, I think it's true. I think there are scientific studies to show that because of social media, people compare themselves too much. So it's quite appropriate that we're talking about comparison because people will see other people's lives on social media that look quite good and they will compare themselves and feel bad about themselves. So for some people, I think it has made it worse. But like you, I agree that some points are better, like seeing pictures from my family.
yeah, so true.
All right. Hi, Jen.
Hi, Adam.
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
You're from Nepal, right?
Yes, I am.
I was thinking about going there. Could you tell me some good places to visit while I'm in Nepal?
Yeah, sure. It's really nice place. I mean, you should totally come to my country. Uh, I would recommend that you should go to a place called Pokhara because that's the most famous tourist site in Nepal. Uh, there's a really beautiful lake there. And then I know that you like sports, so there are so many different kinds of activities like bungee jumping, rafting, kayaking. I don't know, what is it?
Kayaking?
Kayaking, yeah. So, yeah, I think you'll love it there. That's the best place, I would say.
Oh, cool. How far is that from the capital?
Uh, you have to take a mini bus, and it will take you around 6 hours, and you'll be there.
Oh, okay. Cool. When's the best time to go there?
I think during spring would be better.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's really nice there. And the people are really nice. The food is amazing, and there is a really good nightlife there because people there's a lot of what do you call it? Pubs and like live musics. So yeah, it's a really fun place to be at night and in the daytime.
Yeah, that's great. I love live music. Do you have any like events or festivals that I should go to when I'm in Nepal?
Um, Actually, in Nepal, there's a lot of festivals, but I would recommend you to go there when there's a festival called Holi. It's around February or
Uh,
March. So yeah, the festival is around March, and what we do is we play with colors. We throw colors at each other, and then even throw water balloons. It's really fun. The whole environment is really colorful, bright, and everyone is very happy.
that sounds like a lot of fun. I think I've seen pictures of that before. How many days is that celebration?
It's actually only one day.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool. I really want to go. Anything else you can tell us about Nepal?
Uh, if you like hiking, then uh, Nepal has a lot of mountains. Actually, Mount Everest is in Nepal, so you can even try going there.
Wow, that would be amazing. I really look forward to going there. Thank you so much for your time today.
Sure, anytime.
All right. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm with Jen today, and we're talking about your home country, Nepal.
Yes, that's right.
Very cool. I know the Himalayas and even Mount Everest is in Nepal, which is amazing. What else can you tell us about the geography of your country?
Yeah, actually, when people think about Nepal, they just talk about the mountains, but then there are actually three reasons. There's the mountain reason, and then there's another hilly reason, and then Tarai reason. So in Tarai reason, um, the earth, like the surface, is really flat, and that's where people grow crops. That's where we get all the grains from. And then there's the hilly region, which is in the middle part of Nepal. And that's where I am from, the capital, Kathmandu. And it's the temperature is really good there because it's not really hot, not really cold. In Tarai region, it's really hot there. But in hilly region, it's perfect. And then there's the Himalayas where it's super cold. and that's where there's like a lot of mountains, which divides us from China.
So in the south is kind of the farming area?
Yeah, in South, like, yeah, everyone's like the main job is farming.
And that's next to India.
India, yeah.
What kind of farming do they do in Nepal, in the south?
They usually grow rice there, and like since the land is so fertile, like there are a lot of like vegetables, rice, and like a lot of fruits, like everything that grows in hot temperature, I guess.
Oh, so you have a lot of fruits in Nepal?
Yeah, we do. We have a lot of fruits, like of different kinds. Like I told you, since it's cold, hot, and moderate as well. So like we get fruits from all different places, and it's like amazing.
Yeah, that's really cool. I didn't know that Nepal had so many different climates in one country.
Yeah, for a small country, it's a lot, I know.
Well, thank you so much for telling us about Nepal today.
You're welcome. You can ask me anytime.
So, Abhidanami, you were talking about living with the Inuits in northern Canada. What were some things that they do differently, like, for example, food or games or traditions?
Food was a big thing that was different there. They eat a lot of meat, I could say, if I could say that, from the sea. So because they're surrounded by the sea, they have access to a lot of food from there. They eat beluga, seal, whales, anything that's found in the sea. I think they basically eat it. And they eat just about all the parts of the animal. So that was quite interesting.
That's so interesting. What does it taste like, seal and whale?
Very...
Is it cooked?
Sometimes they cook it, yes. They also freeze it. They have different ways of preparing it. Sometimes they do eat it raw. They say that's the best way to eat it, to get the most amount of energy from it. And sometimes they freeze it and they eat it frozen. They eat a lot of fish, frozen fish like that. Arctic char, delicious. And sometimes they boil it, but no, I don't think that's their preferred method of eating it. One thing to note is that the younger generation, they seem to prefer more the meat, beef, and meat that more everybody else eats now. Whereas the older generation, of course, they still prefer their traditional way of cooking and eating. Also, they eat caribou, like land animals, caribou, rabbit, and one or two other animals that I can't remember.
Now, did you try all these foods?
I tried as many as I could. I love eating, and if anybody else is eating it, I'll eat it too. So I tried them all. I have the ones I like more, but I didn't find anything disgusting. I enjoyed it.
That is so cool. Did you learn how to prepare it or cook some of it?
No, I'm laughing because I'm not a huge cook anywhere. So I just do the eating and cleaning up.
Yeah, okay, cool. You mentioned that they played some games. They had their own style of games. Do you remember any games that they played?
They have games where one was like wrestling. They have a lot of body contact games where they would wrestle on the ground, or you had to hold up your leg a certain way for how many minutes. Just really games that had to deal with strength and endurance is what I would say. And then they also played a lot of games using dice and where you would win prizes. I think a lot of these things were designed for the long winter months, so they could stay indoors and still keep themselves entertained. And because in those days, in the past, they didn't have TV or the kind of entertainment internet which they do have there now. So they have a lot of games that they still try to play sometimes to keep them entertained. And music is a large part of their life too. A lot of people play different instruments and they square dance. They're really good dancers. They can dance all night. So that was fun as well.
Oh, wow. Well, sounds like a great place.
Yes, it was.
So, do they have their own type of instruments? Their own traditional instruments?
I would say no. The instruments that I saw were more things that had been brought up to them. For example, the fiddle, guitar, stuff like that. Thinking back on it now, maybe there were one or two things that they had made, but I didn't feel like, I can't really remember the name. I didn't really remember the names. I don't really, so.
Nice. Anyway, thanks for sharing.
My pleasure.
So, Abidemi, you were a teacher in Canada, correct?
That's true, Todd.
Now, where did you teach?
I taught in northern Canada, in a province called Nunavut.
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 Yes.
Wow. Is it like Native Americans type?
Yes, except that we call them Inuits.
Inuits?
And, Aboriginals and First Nations.
So what was it like?
I really liked it. It was great. Very different from other parts of Canada. Very cold, obviously, because it's in the far north. And the communities are very isolated. Very few people live there. In the particular community where I lived, there were about 1,000 people, maybe less, living there. So everything has to be shipped in or flown in by ship that comes in the summer when the oceans melt. And then in the winter, they usually fly them in. So food was quite expensive, housing expensive. Yeah, it was a different experience for me.
Wow, what's life like that far north?
Life happens, and it's interesting how similar it is to what we have down south in southern Canada and the other parts of Canada. Like they have TVs and similar housing, but you do have to be careful when using water because the infrastructure is a little different. The ground is frozen, so they don't have indoor plumbing. They have plumbing, but they don't have running water. The water has to be brought to each house almost every day, and sewage also has to be taken away. So you have to be careful how you use water. That's one part. Also, you don't get access to all the things that you want to buy. Sometimes you go to the supermarket and maybe all the bread is gone or the milk hasn't been flowed in yet. So you have to be patient with that as well. And you don't get the same variety of products as you would get in larger places. So, yeah. And then as you get more and more into the winter months, it gets darker earlier. So maybe around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it's already dark outside. And by the time you go to work in the mornings too, when you're going around 7, 8 o'clock, it's dark outside. So you're like, it's dark a lot.
Wow. What was it like being in an environment where you had so little sunlight?
It was hard, but I kind of feel like I'm used to it. I took vitamin D tablets to help with that. Also, yeah. But because I was working for the most part, I didn't feel like it was too hard. And then during the holidays, I would come back down south to my family. So I wasn't there too much during downtimes. I did spend part of Christmas vacation there, and that was nice. They had a lot of activities outside for community members, ice sculpturing, winter games on the ice, Inuit games, different things like that. So it was fun. It was really an experience that was culturally enlightening, if I could say that for me. I really enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it. Though there were challenges as well. The isolation and the fact that if you wanted to go to other places that were in the community, you had to fly out. So it's very expensive to go there.
Oh, what an experience. Sounds cool.
Yes, I loved it, and I would like to do it again someday.
Hello, welcome to Burger Barn. Can I take your order?
Oh, hi there. I think I'll have the taco and the fries and a soda, please.
Okay, you want the tacos, the fries, and the soda?
Yes, please.
Okay, did you want that in a can or in a cup?
Cup, please.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. We're out of tacos today. How about a hot dog or maybe some chicken? Would that be all right?
Yeah, I think I'll go for the chicken, please.
Okay. Do you want crispy or baked?
Crispy, please.
Crispy, all right. Did you want breast meat or did you want leg meat?
Breast meat, please.
Okay. So you can go ahead and drive through to the inn. Your total's going to be $5.36.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm sorry, are you going to be paying by cash or by debit card?
Cash, please.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Would you like anything for dessert? Donut, ice cream?
What flavour ice cream have you got?
We've got chocolate ice cream, vanilla ice cream, and rainbow sherbet.
I think I'll try the rainbow sherbet today, please.
Okay, would you like that in a cone or a cup?
Cup, please.
Okay. So your total will be $7.55 at the window.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hello, welcome to Burger Barn. Can I help you?
Hi, I'm picking up a large order today, so can I grab a pizza and a few burgers, maybe some onion rings and some Cokes?
Okay, so I'm sorry, can you slow that down? So you want just one pizza?
Yes, please.
Okay, and how many burgers did you say?
Maybe 3. 3 should work, yes.
Okay, and you just want a normal, regular Burger Barn burger?
Yes, a normal regular burger. Maybe make that extra. Extra pickles.
You want the Big Barn burger?
Big Barn burger sounds great. Thank you, mate.
You want 3 Big Barn burgers?
3 Big Barn burgers will be wonderful.
Okay. And I'm sorry, so I've got the pizza and the Big Barn burgers. Did you want something else?
Yeah, can I grab 3 onion rings and 3 Cokes?
3 onion rings and 3 Cokes. Now, the Cokes, did you want those in the cup or in the can?
Can I grab them in cups, please?
You want those in cups? So you want straws with those?
Yes, please.
Okay, so just to repeat your order, you've got 1 medium pizza, 3 big Burger Barn burgers, Big Barn burgers, 3 cans of Coke, and some onion rings.
No, can I make that a large pizza and 3 cups of Coke, please?
Oh, I'm sorry, 3 cups of Coke.
Yes.
Okay, great. And a large pizza.
Yes, a large pizza.
Okay, great. All right, your total will be $18.55 at the window.
Excellent.
So I want to ask you about when is the right age to have stuff or to start doing stuff. What do you think is the right age to start having a phone?
Oh, I think for security reasons, to keep the child safe, perhaps maybe about 11 or 12 when they start going around places without their parents.
Yeah.
It would be a way for me to contact my daughter. Even now, my daughter's only 6 and she doesn't have a phone. That's far too young, I believe. However, she walks to school by herself.
Yeah.
And walks home by herself, and that stresses me out. For her safety. So there are times where I wish I could phone her or text her, but she doesn't have a phone, and I do believe that 6 is far too young to have a phone.
A little bit too young.
Yes. So purely for security reasons, I think probably around 11 or 12.
How old were you when you first got your phone?
Oh, well, I'm an old person, so people didn't have mobile phones. I was reaching the end of high school. I was, I think, 17 when I got my first mobile phone. And it was a big brick. But again, that was for, I guess security reasons.
Yeah.
My parents got it for me. I was going out, I'd started going out at night, going to concerts, and I was beginning to be allowed going into bars and things, 17, 18. So, yeah, it was a good security thing. My parents were appreciative of being able to contact me.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you? How old were you when you first got your mobile phone?
Oh, goodness. I was about 12 or 13. I was really young.
Okay.
And I only got my first mobile phone, or my first cell phone, because my best friend had got the same one, and I wanted to send like picture messages to her. It was back in the old days where you couldn't send photos, you couldn't take photos.
Picture messages. I
Picture
couldn't even
messages.
send picture messages. Mine was just text, like pressing the same button over and over
yeah.
again.
Oh yeah. So I never really used it
hmm
as like a way of security. I just used it to send really overpriced picture messages to my friend for absolutely no reason. It was such a waste. And to play Snake. Do you remember Snake?
Oh yeah,
Like
Snake.
the little game that you could play on your phone.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't use it for a good use, I think. I just used it to waste time. It's
Fair enough.
ridiculous.
Well, you're 12, you said, right?
12, 13, yeah.
Well, that sounds age appropriate, I think. Age appropriate use.
Yeah, it's a good time to start wasting your time. Good age to start wasting time.
Yeah. So, Gilder, we're both teachers
Yes.
and we both live and work abroad, right,
Yes.
from our home countries. I'm from Scotland and you're from Venezuela. So, I'm sure we both have to deal with homesickness because we're so far from our home. How do you deal with homesickness?
Oh, it's very difficult because, as you said, I'm so far from my country.
Yeah.
And like special seasons like Christmas or during the Holy Week is something that we celebrate
Okay.
a lot.
Uh-huh.
I feel really homesick, especially because of the food we
Yeah.
have. Yeah, particular food and also meeting with your friends, hanging out with them, going to the beach. So all those things that I don't have here is yeah, it really makes me feel homesick. But one thing I do is I always try to go for things in the country where I'm living. So what do the locals do? Is there any interesting? And it's a sort of like an adventure because you're doing something new, so you're kind of replacing something that you're used to do
Yeah.
by something new. So in a way, it's nice dealing with homesickness.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, that's kind of what I was going to say. You said replacing. I was going to say just distract yourself with other activities. Obviously, we've met new people living here, and I've made some new and wonderful friends. And it's not the same as your life back home, but it's a good distraction, I think. You mentioned activities, so yeah, just exploring the new culture that we're in, and if feeling homesickness. In regards to food, there's a lot of delicious food here in Japan, delicious food, so we can distract our needs, I guess.
Yeah, that's one of the good things of being in Japan is the fact that you get to know people from all over the world
Yeah.
and try so many different things.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a distraction. As you said, a good distraction. Yeah.
One strategy I have as well for homesickness is whenever someone comes to visit, which is very rare, but it does happen, I send them a list of things that they can fill their suitcase with to bring over for me. Foods from home
Yes.
and just tea bags from the local supermarket and, some cosmetics or toiletries that I cannot buy here, particular brands that I like. And it's little things like that that help me, I think, deal with not having them. Basically, having them, that helps me deal with not having them.
I also do that sometimes. Like my family try to visit me once a year, so their suitcase packed of stuff from Venezuela, which is very important for me. And also I try to find those supermarkets from South America, like Brazilian supermarkets.
Right, yeah.
Or sometimes the Filipino supermarkets, they have stuff that we have
Yes,
in Venezuela.
yes.
So yeah, it's very nice.
I actually used to live up in a different part of Japan where there was quite a large Brazilian population and there were many, like a Brazilian convenience store.
Yes.
Wonderful bread. The meat was good too.
Yeah.
Lots of really good products. So I guess a shop like that would help you in particular.
Yes, I guess Brazilians, they don't have the same issue that we have with homesickness because they can get a lot of stuff from Brazil here
That's
in Japan.
true. Yeah. Well, of course, there are international stores around. I'm lucky enough to, even in a small city like this, I have an international store that's reasonably close. So there are a few products that I feel happy about, I guess. Maybe I wouldn't even buy them at home, but when I see them in the shop here, I feel like, oh, I can't get other things, so I'm going to buy these biscuits.
Likewise, something that you can read.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. Just peel the language sticker off the top and read the English below. Yeah, there are different ways to cope with it, I think.
Yes.
So, do you think that we should send people to Mars or the moon to spend all this money on space travel?
Well, I think we should. Space travel can give people hope for the future, and space travel can unite people from different countries for a common goal.
But do any countries work together to travel in space?
Oh, certainly. The International Space Station has astronauts from different countries working together. And I think that a joint effort is the best way to do space missions. I think that we could go back to the moon and learn much more by going there than we can learn if we don't go there.
I see what you mean, but I think we could learn more and we could improve more if we can help the people on Earth. Think of everything we could learn from the children that can't get an education these days. Maybe the next Einstein is a poor little girl who doesn't have the money to go to school. If we spent more money on school and clean water and vaccines, maybe we could learn more from ourselves than from going to space and going to Mars.
I agree with you that more money should be spent on education, but we don't need the next Einstein if we're not doing space travel. The problem is, what are people with money willing to spend it on? I think that it would be nice if we could have all the rich countries spend money on education for poor people. But if you look at the numbers, the cost of one space mission is much cheaper than the things we spend money on now.
Like what?
Well, the first example that comes to mind is war. One day of war is so expensive for all the governments and militaries that are involved. One day of war costs more money than one space mission. But
Yeah,
war
that's
goes
true.
on and on for days.
Yeah, and years.
So if you think about the money in terms of, so the money for a space mission seems expensive by itself, but when you compare it to other things, it's actually kind of cheap.
I see what you're saying. You're comparing the cost of space travel to war, but I would compare the cost of space travel to the cost of, for example, getting rid of malaria. I think we could get rid of a terrible disease like malaria for as much as we would spend on a trip to Mars.
Getting rid of malaria or going to Mars. Well, of course, I would also choose that we should get rid of malaria.
Maybe we'll have to agree to disagree.
We might have to disagree this time.
Okay. We've been hearing a lot about Mars in the news.
Yeah, NASA keeps coming out with announcements every year.
We just found out that there's water on Mars, liquid water.
Yes, recently they revealed that there's evidence of liquid water.
That's crazy.
Last year they announced that they definitely found ice, solid water, in the soil.
Mm-hmm.
In the soil on Mars' surface, they found frozen water. Now they found evidence of liquid water flowing.
Do you think people can go to Mars? Do you think we should send people to Mars?
I definitely think we can go there. We've already sent a number of spacecraft to Mars, starting with satellites many decades ago. Then there were landers, where a satellite landed on the surface and sent data back to Earth. Then we sent the rovers, little robot cars that drive around on Mars. So we've already successfully sent many missions to Mars. I'm sure we could do one with humans.
But none of the satellites or landers or rovers, they've never come back. Do you think we could send people and they'd come back safely?
Well, that is a problem. We could definitely send people to Mars, but bringing them back, having the astronauts come back to Earth, would be a much more difficult problem to solve.
So you think maybe we would send astronauts to Mars and they would never come back safely?
Well, if you think about the old explorers in the olden days, explorers used to leave their home and find new regions and not plan to go back.
Yeah.
People used to take a risk that maybe they couldn't return. So I think there are people who are willing to go on a one-way trip to Mars. I'm sure there are people willing to do that. But are the rest of the people willing to send someone on that mission? I think some people will say yes, and some people will say no. I don't know what the percent would be, but I'm willing to allow someone to do that. If someone says, I want to go to Mars, I know it's a one-way trip, but I want to go. I think that's okay. We should let them go.
How about you? Would you volunteer to go?
Oh no, not me. I'm staying here on Earth.
Okay.
So what are 3 foods that you can't stand? 3 foods that you hate?
Number 1 would be chocolate.
Chocolate!
Yes.
That's crazy.
I don't like the feeling that you have when you put a piece of chocolate inside your mouth. It's like too hot. Like if I eat a piece of chocolate, I need to drink a lot of water. I don't like it. Yeah.
I will gladly eat all of your chocolate. If you have chocolate you don't want, I'm here.
It's weird because when, chocolate is very popular as a gift. Somebody's always giving you chocolate, and I take it because I don't want to say everybody like I hate chocolate actually. But yeah. What about you? What's something you don't really like?
Well, I have something I don't like that I think is really popular, and every time I say I don't like it, I always get the same like what kind of reaction. But I don't like ice cream.
What?
Yeah. I don't like ice cream. I don't think food should be that cold. I don't like it. Food shouldn't be too cold to eat. It's just not.
You don't know what you're missing.
I'm
Ice creams are really, really good, especially in summer.
Chocolate's really good. I'll take chocolate over ice cream any day.
Well, you can try chocolate ice cream.
Oh, chocolate ice cream is the worst. Chocolate ice cream is the worst. Ugh, no,
what about
thank
a
you.
second one? Do you have any second food that you don't like?
I don't like tomatoes.
Oh.
Which is strange because I eat lots of pasta with tomato flavored stuff in it. But just tomatoes by themselves is not something I enjoy. Whenever I have like a hamburger with a tomato in it, I always have to take it out and give it to someone else. I don't like it. It's just juicy and not a good juicy way.
I don't like garlic.
You don't like garlic?
I like garlic in food, but I don't like to see it or eat it and have the taste of garlic. I don't like it.
Once you've got the taste of garlic, you don't get rid of that for about 3 days, right?
Exactly, that's another thing. Yeah. So when my mom is cooking and using garlic, after that she had to remove it. She cannot leave any evidence that she was using garlic in her food. Yes.
Is there another food that you don't like?
I would say sprouts, Brussels sprouts.
Man, no one likes sprouts.
It's bitter, and even though some people say it's good for your body, I don't like them.
I think, sprouts are just universally hated. No one likes sprouts.
Yeah, well, but when you are a child, your parents, for some reason, always giving you that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cruel.
Oh, I don't like it. It looks like, I feel like a cow eating those things. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's just, ugh.
What about you? Any other?
I have one more, but it's really strange. I've never actually eaten them, but looking at them makes me really uncomfortable. And that's olives. I hate olives. I can't stand olives. Just looking at them makes me want to scream.
Really?
Like, I think it's the hole. I don't like the hole in olives. I'm like scared of olives. It's really strange, but
I
no.
like them. Very
you can
tasty.
have my olives.
Green, black.
Oh, no. If I see them in a jar at the
Better than
supermarket,
chocolate.
just no. Oh, no. Don't like them. Scared of olives. It's the craziest thing ever, but no. Don't like olives. Keep them away from me. Ugh.
Good.
So what are 3 foods that you absolutely have to have, that you can't live without?
I would say that I couldn't live without arepa. Is like my daily breakfast in Venezuela. Arepa is made of corn flour, and it looks like a hamburger. So you put anything you want inside, and it's very tasty. And I would say like 95% of Venezuelans eat arepas every day. Well, it's kind of like a high carb diet in my country, so I need rice also for lunch. And bread. Bread is another thing. In the afternoon, a piece of bread, sweet bread with coffee is kind of like mandatory.
So lots and lots of carbs in your diet.
What about you? What about in England?
Well, English breakfast is not the healthiest of breakfasts. It's like a big plate with fried eggs, fried sausages, hash browns, like hashed potatoes, beans, just everything fried and everything delicious. And I would say that I can't live without that, but if I ate it every day, then I would probably not be able to leave my house because I would be so fat. But it's definitely a food that is in my top foods of all time. That's probably my favorite. But recently I've been eating lots of tofu as breakfast. Yeah, so a little bit of tofu, a little bit of soy sauce. Just for breakfast, which is just, it's a bit of a boring breakfast, but it's really healthy, I guess. So I've been eating that a lot every day. So I probably can't live without that recently. And also pizza.
Oh, pizza, yes.
Pizza. I think everyone can't live without pizza.
Yes.
Pizza is the best. Pizza is definitely a
food
that
I
I can't live without.
Pizza probably once a week, I would say. Yeah.
What's your favorite topping?
That would be cheese.
Cheese, classic.
Definitely. Bacon.
Cheese and bacon. Oh, sounds good.
Yes. Very, very tasty.
Just cheese and bacon or anything else?
No. I'm going for anything actually, but I will always need to have cheese and bacon on my pizza.
Pizza's not pizza without cheese.
Yes.
Has to have cheese.
Now, what else do you have? So you said tofu, pizza. What other food can you live without?
Well, my grandma is part Italian, so we have lots of like pasta and lasagna in our family.
Good.
So I try not to eat a lot of pasta because I'll get really fat, but pasta is definitely something that I can't live without.
Yeah, Italian food, so good.
Yeah, and again, lots of cheese.
Yeah, we also do a lot of lasagna. Well, we call it pasticcio.
Pasticcio.
It's a different name, but it's the same lasagna, and it's also very tasty.
So good.
But
so like a real real comfort food, isn't it? Lasagna.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. So, what would you say is your comfort food?
My comfort food. That would be arepa again. Yeah, definitely.
You said you can have lots of like fillings in that.
Yes. So my favorite would be black beans with cheese inside. It sounds a little bit like a mix-up of things, but it's really, really tasty. We do eat a lot of black beans every day in Venezuela. Yeah, it's very common. What about you?
My comfort food, I can't eat it as much as I would like to these days, but it's probably my mom's spaghetti bolognese. So good. It's so good. Like lots of pasta, lots of tomato, lots of herbs, lots of cheese.
Sounds good.
Oh, it's amazing. I would like live with my parents if it meant I could have spaghetti bolognese every day. So good. So tasty. Ah, but yeah, it's the best.
Nice.
It's the best. Why are we always...
Hey, Katie, I'm having a party, Super Bowl party at my house on Sunday in a couple weeks. Would you like to come over?
Okay, but I have absolutely no idea what the Super Bowl is.
Well, the Super Bowl is our big sporting event, and we have it once a year. But it's okay if you don't know anything about American football, because actually the Super Bowl is kind of like our unofficial holiday.
Okay.
Yeah, so what happens is everybody comes over to somebody's house, and you have a big party, and you watch the game, but nobody really watches the game. There's lots of other stuff going on, so it should be good.
Do you have like Super Bowl food that you
Exactly. So it's kind of like a big feast. So we'll have, like hamburgers and stuff that we'll barbecue, and we'll have lots of like chips and dip and stuff like that. So you don't have to bring any food, but it's potluck. So if you do want to bring something, I would recommend it.
Do you have to be like a supporter of one of the teams in the final?
No, and actually the game's not for a couple weeks, so we don't know who the two final teams are going to be.
Right.
They still have to decide, but actually there's a bunch of things that have nothing to do with football on the Super Bowl that you'll probably like. The first is they have the halftime show. You may have heard about the Super Bowl halftime show.
Okay.
You like music, right?
I love music.
Right, so they always have a really big musical act. And actually this year, I don't remember who it is. I'll have to check, but it's usually somebody like Bruno Mars or U2 or somebody like that.
I think last year it was Katy Perry, was it not?
It might have been, yeah, but it's always a really, really big person. Another thing that's really cool about the Super Bowl is the commercials.
Okay.
So the commercials, the companies spend a lot of money on the commercials, and they're usually really good. So the commercials, people are often more into the commercials than the game.
Okay.
Especially if one team's if it's a lopsided win. So yeah, so the commercials are fun.
What kind of commercials do they have?
Oh, like companies like Pepsi or Coke or like really big name companies.
Like the really big ones.
Yeah, they'll spend like millions and millions of dollars. These are usually the most expensive commercials because it's one local game and one local audience. Like the World Cup is a more watched event, but the commercials are regional for all the different countries. Whereas the Super Bowl, the commercials are just for Americans.
Yeah.
So yeah, these are usually the most expensive commercials like around the world. So they're usually really well done.
Is it just American teams in the Super Bowl?
Yes, it's very, Americanized, you might say. But, like I said, the game's really not that important. But there is one way that you can make money.
Okay, I'm interested.
So what happens is we have like a pool, and you can draw numbers, and like you don't have to know anything about football, but you can have like, draw numbers for the first person to score a touchdown or the first player to get a penalty or things like that. And you just fill out the chart, and then if your player gets that, then you can get money. So you have to contribute. You have to pay like $10 to play, but then it's in a pool, and then you could win money at different points during the game.
Have you ever won at the Super Bowl before?
Yeah, it's kind of like how it works out, where everybody wins a little money and everybody loses a little money. So, gambling technically is illegal, but but it's like just one of those things that everybody does.
It's not for big money.
No.
Just for a little bit of money.
Just a little bit of money.
So it's okay.
Just to have fun. Yeah. So, and then once I find out what teams are in the finals, then I'll tell you about the colors. And it's usually best that you choose one team that you're going to support.
Okay.
So I'll fill you in about who the teams are later and all that.
Right.
So are you willing to come?
Yeah, sounds like fun.
Okay, cool.
I'm in.
All right, so it's going to be at my house at 3. So if you can show up around 2-ish.
Should I bring some food?
You can bring some type of maybe salad or like a bean dish or something like that if you like. But the main food we'll provide. We'll have pizza, we'll have burgers. Oh, and it's BYOB.
Okay.
So if you want to drink, you have to bring your own alcohol.
All right.
But we will have some beers and stuff. Do you drink?
Sometimes.
Okay, cool.
Like 10% of the time.
All right, so see you there. Glad you can come.
No worries.
So we've been talking about women's roles in society, and are you a stay-at-home mom or a working mom?
Well, I guess I'm both. Right now, I'm on maternity leave, and I'm on month 6 of maternity leave.
What does that mean?
So, maternity leave is when you have a job, but then you become pregnant, or you're going to have a baby, maybe adopt too. So you're going to have a baby, and so you take time off of work to stay home with the new baby.
Oh, I see. Do you still get paid?
I do. I get about half of my wage. So I do still get paid, and I'm very grateful for that. So I've been at home with the new baby for 6 months, and I'm going to go back to work next month.
Oh. What will happen with the baby?
So I have 2 kids, actually. I have a toddler and a baby. And both of them will go to daycare during the day.
I see.
So I signed up for the daycare before the baby was even born. It's really hard to find good daycare that you can afford, that's near your house. So you have to start planning before the baby's even born if you're the type of person who wants to go back to work.
I see. I don't think many men worry about getting good daycare for their children when they think about their jobs.
No. Even when there's a family and the mother and father both work, still it's the mother that has to do everything with the kids, usually. Usually the mom has to, for example, get the bag ready for the kids to take to daycare. They have to arrange the daycare. The daycare has the mother's phone number, usually. And so the mom has to do a lot of extra work, even though mom and dad both have full-time jobs.
I see. Are you saying that things should be different?
Yes, I think things should be different. I'm so lucky. My husband agrees with me. And my husband, he drops the kids off at daycare and he picks them up and he does the laundry and the dishes. And it helps me focus on my career so that I can stay late at work if I need to. I can go to an extra meeting on a weekend, and it makes me feel more fulfilled that it's not my husband's job that comes first. A lot of times women make less money than men, and they put their job second to their husband, and it's not equal and it's not fair. And so I think that people should work on making things more equal.
Well, I agree with you.
Thank you.
Okay, so Sarah, you said you participated in rodeos before, but I thought only men ride horses in rodeos.
Yeah, like 99.9% of the time, the men do all of the rodeo sports. There's like 2 sports for women, and the rest of them are all for men.
Oh.
When I said I wanted to do the traditionally male events, they said, you can't do that. You're a woman. You have to do these other events that are not dangerous, they're safe. For example, the men do calf roping. You work with a baby cow, a calf that's about 100 pounds. The women do goat roping. And they work with a tiny goat that's about the size of a small dog. So I just always thought the difference was stupid. I don't want to do the easy, safe event. I want to do the difficult event. And people were really surprised. And first they said you can't. And I said I'm going to anyways.
Wow.
And the first time I did the saddle bronc, they said, look, 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 we got you a girl horse because you're a girl.
Oh my.
And I thought, well, you didn't need to draw more attention to it. I just want to compete like everyone else.
Right.
And my first time, I fell off the horse and I was really injured. And I was laying there, and one of my friends came running out. And he said, I thought he was going to help me up and help me leave because I was really hurt. And instead he said, hurry up, you got to get out of the arena because the next person wants to go.
Oh, wow.
And I was really happy that he said that, actually, because he was just treating me the way he treated any other competitor. Oh, get up, be tough, you're fine.
Yeah.
And I didn't want anyone to help me.
So he didn't help you.
Right. And I was really glad that he was treating me like everyone else. And when you see a rodeo, you'll see that the women do events where they can dress really nice. They always wear nice clothes, beautiful hat, they even have earrings and things on. And when the men do events, they're doing the events that they really have to use their muscles and get dirty, and I really liked doing those instead. I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just saying I liked to do the other one, and I think that maybe other women like to do the other events too.
So, do you think the situation is improving? Are more girls joining rodeo now?
I don't think so. I think the sport of rodeo is becoming less popular.
Oh.
So I think in the future there won't be more women in rodeo. There will just be fewer people in rodeo.
Oh, I see.
Because the rodeo events, they're not very kind to the cows or the other animals. And as people get older, maybe they get more soft-hearted, like me, and they don't want to make the animals get tied up or chase the animals. And so I think fewer people are interested in rodeo these days.
So, Sarah, you talked about competing in a rodeo. Have you done any other sports on horseback?
Yeah. Well, not a sport. I used to have a job, and my job was to take people on horseback into the mountains in Wyoming. And it was a really fun job. Every day we would saddle up maybe 15 or 20 horses, and then we would take beginners, people who had never ridden horses before, and we'd show them how to lead the horses and get on the horses, and then we'd go up into the mountains for 2 hours or 4 hours or sometimes all day.
Well, that sounds great.
Yeah.
That was your job?
That was my job, and it was really fun. We would walk along these cliffs, and people would get nervous, and they'd say, "Oh no, isn't my horse going to fall down the cliff?" And I'd say, "No, your horse doesn't want to fall down the cliff, just like you."
Yeah, right.
And the horses were really good, and to be honest, the horses mostly ignored the people on their backs. The
Really?
horses, they knew the path that we were taking.
Oh.
And sometimes people would want to do something that's dangerous, like go too fast or go a different way.
Yeah.
And the horses would ignore the people and go the way they're supposed to.
Oh, that's probably better.
Yeah.
What about wild animals? You're going on horseback trail rides through the mountains, right?
Yeah. And the area we went through was famous for elk. We saw lots of elk. And you know, where there's elk, there are also the animals that eat elk. So there were mountain lions and bears.
Bears.
I never saw a bear, but I always told the people I was with, I said, "Don't worry, guys, if you see a bear, you don't have to be faster than the bear. You just have to be faster than the slowest horse."
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Did the visitors like that joke?
They did. They thought it was really funny until I pointed out which horse was the slowest. And then that person got really nervous.
Did you ever see a mountain lion?
I never saw a mountain lion, but one time the horses were all acting really nervous and they wouldn't go forward. And I didn't know why they were acting this way.
Oh.
They refused. And so I ended up turning around and we went off the trail and we had to make a big circle.
Really?
And then later I found out that there had been a warning that there were mountain lions in the area. And so I think that's why the horses refused to go.
Wow, those horses sound pretty smart.
Yeah. Sometimes in the morning, when we are the first people on the trail, I would see tracks, like wolf tracks or cougar tracks. But I never saw the real animal.
Oh, that's probably lucky.
Yeah.
Sounds like you had a really fun time at that job.
Yeah, it was really fun, and we were outdoors every day. That was my favorite part. The air was so clean, and I loved working with the animals and being in the sunshine. It was great.
So, Sarah, I was wondering, what kind of sports do you like to play?
Well, I love riding horses. And actually, when I was in college, I took a lot of classes about horseback riding. So I can do all sorts of sports on horseback.
Wow, that's amazing. Don't you think riding horses is scary?
I think it's part of the fun. For example, I used to be in the rodeo, and I did a sport called saddle bronc riding. And the way you do this is they put the saddle on the horse, and then they let the horse just go crazy. And the horse runs and bucks and tries to get you off, and you try to stay on. And it's really scary, but it's also really exciting.
Wow. That's what's called a bucking bronco, right?
Yeah, and it's really hard to stay on. In fact, you win if you can stay on 8 seconds.
Oh, that doesn't seem very long.
It's really, really long. It's really long when you're on the horse. My first time, I only stayed on about 4 seconds, and then I fell off in the middle of the ring, and I got knocked out.
Oh.
Yeah, and the rest, and I had a big black eye for about 2 months.
Wow. From falling off a horse. That's why it seems scary. Isn't it really dangerous?
It is really dangerous. And they don't make you wear helmet or any safety gear. I didn't wear a helmet my first time. I think it was pretty stupid. So the horse starts in a metal cage, so the horse can't move. And then you sit on top of the horse, on the horse's back in the saddle. And then you say, "I'm ready!" And they open the door. And the horse explodes and just starts jumping and turning and twisting. And the horse did about 3 or 4 jumps, and I fell off.
Wow. How many seconds did you make it?
3, probably
3?
about 3 seconds.
So you'd have to do that more than twice as long
Yeah.
to win.
I got better at it, but I never could stay on for 8 seconds.
Did you try any other rodeo events?
Yeah, I tried to do calf roping.
What's that?
This is a sport where you have your horse, and your horse is trained. It's not the wild horse from before. And there's a calf, and you try to throw your rope so that you catch the calf. And a calf is a baby cow.
Wow. And so, what do you have to do if you get your rope around the cow?
Then you have to run up to the cow and you have to tie the cow's legs together. And when you finish tying the cow's legs together, the timer stops. So you want to do it as fast as you can.
That sounds really fun. And it doesn't sound as dangerous as the saddle bronc competition.
No, it's not as dangerous, but after a while, I started to feel bad for the baby cow.
I see.
It's just, he's a small little baby, and he's really scared, and he's trying to run away. And I started to feel bad about catching him with the rope and tying him up, so I stopped doing it.
I see.
So when we're talking about ideal hotels, what do you think is an ideal hotel for you?
That's a tough question, but when I choose a hotel, I would look at where the hotel's located,
Right.
and also the food.
Right.
So as long as the hotel is surrounded by nature, preferably on the water,
Okay.
and maybe some mountains in the back, and if the food, the breakfast, and dinner, and all the food that they have is amazing, I'm good. I'm set.
Now, what about facilities? I mean, hotels have various facilities, whether it's gyms or movie rooms or computer rooms that allow you to do, internet and various things. Some hotels have pools. Would those be things that you would want in your ideal hotel?
Oh yeah, gym I'm not so interested in because I can, play sports outside when I'm surrounded by nature. Why would I be, inside working out?
Right.
But in terms of swimming pool, I'm actually interested because when I was looking at pictures, I don't know which country it was, but there's an outdoor pool, like infinity pool, that looked like it was connected to the ocean, and it was just so beautiful. And before I thought, why would I swim in the swimming pool when I have an ocean in front of me? But if there is an swimming pool like that at the hotel, I'll definitely stay there for a long time.
Right. Now, what about spa facilities? Massages and different spa treatments. Is that something that would interest you in your ideal hotel?
Oh, yes, for sure. I am so into massages, and yeah, I would definitely want massage room and spas in the hotel. That would be perfect.
Oh, okay. And, there are some really expensive hotels that offer the service of a personal butler. Do you think that would be necessary for you in your ideal hotel, or would that be one amenity that you could do without?
I think it depends, but I don't really. When I'm staying at the hotel, I would usually, want to be alone and want to enjoy my time with my family or my husband or myself, that I actually don't want anyone following me everywhere I go. So, to a lot of people might be, that's a good idea. It's a nice treat to have, but I am personally not up for that.
Okay, well, sounds like a pretty nice hotel you've just...
So, Mike, the other day my friends and I were talking about ideal hotels. What is your ideal hotel?
Well, there are many hotels that would appeal to me, but I'd say my ideal hotel would, number one, have to have a gorgeous view from the room. And if we're talking about idealistic, I would choose a hotel that is suspended over the water, just off the beach. And my ideal hotel would be not a hotel where the rooms are all connected, but rather rooms being separate villas or bungalows, and those villas to be situated just above the water. So when you wake up in the morning, you're literally above the water already. You're already on the beach. And to get from your room to the beach, you have to walk out and you wade in the water until you get to the beach. So a place like that, definitely my ideal hotel would, something like that. My ideal hotel would have to be situated in nature, and I would really love it to have a location that would provide me with opportunities to do a lot of cool activities, perhaps adventure stuff in nature, dealing with animals, that type of thing, being able to see the local color of the area. So that would probably be my ideal hotel. One other point I'd like to make is that the hotel would have to have unbelievable food. And I think a hotel with good food, and not just good food, but a lot of options for food. So when you wake up in the morning and you go for a breakfast buffet, you have a choice of virtually any different type of food that there is. A lot of good hotels are limited to what kind of food they offer, even if the food is high quality. So that would be another aspect for me that would be quite important for my ideal hotel.
Yeah, sounds like a nice hotel that you just described.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey Todd, I'm going and looking for a gym actually. I hear you've joined a gym. Which one?
Yeah, actually there's a real nice gym downtown that just opened about maybe a month ago, 2 months ago. It's really nice.
Okay. What's the name of it?
The name is Fitness Club.
Ah,
Yeah.
Good name.
Yeah, so it pretty much has everything. I mean, it has free weights, of course, and it has all the latest machines.
Oh, good.
Yeah, actually, some of the machines are kind of tricky. I really don't know how they work yet, so I have to ask the staff.
So it's more than a treadmill. It's a whole big machine that you don't know what to do.
Exactly. I'm actually afraid to get on the thing. I don't want to break it.
Is there people there that can help you?
Yeah, actually, that's part of the problem is you can't use any of the equipment unless you get trained for it. They're really specific.
Oh, okay.
So you have to have guidance. It's kind of annoying actually because everything, they have a system and they know based on, your membership what machines you can use and what you can't, and
Oh, okay. But what happens if I've been to a gym before? Do I still need to get the training before I start?
Yeah, that's how I was. I told them that I had been lifting weights for a while and they didn't care. So you have to get certified to use all the equipment. It's kind of inconvenient.
Okay, so do they have classes though?
They do. Actually, they have pretty much everything. They have yoga, kickboxing, spin classes, dancing. So, and the schedule looks, pretty diverse.
Oh, that's good. I do prefer classes than the weights.
Yeah. Only one thing that's bad about the classes, though, is that because it's new and it's a new gym, there's lots of people, and it looks like it's pretty crowded in there. I think you have to reserve what classes you're going to join.
Oh, really?
Yeah, isn't that terrible?
Oh, geez. I'm usually just like to walk in.
Right. I know.
When you feel like going to the gym, you go.
Right. One thing that is nice, though, is they have an actual gym floor, like a basketball gym. So you can play basketball. They have volleyball tournaments. So, I mean, if you like more traditional sports, like tennis, they also have tennis courts. You can do that as well.
Oh, that's good. I do like tennis. I love tennis, actually.
Well, actually, if you're interested, I'd be glad to, take you down to the gym and show you, I think you get a free trial workout.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So how much would it cost per month?
Well, because it's new, it's kind of expensive. It costs about $50 a month.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But if you buy a membership, a 2-year membership, you can get a 2-year membership, I think, for $800. So it saves you some money, so it's kind of reasonable.
And I suppose if you pay for two, you have to go then.
Right. It's $800 for 2 years, $500 for 1 year, or $50 a month.
Okay.
So, one thing that's really cool too is they have a social center. They have like an area where you can get like fruit drinks and coffee and stuff like that and just hang out. It's quite nice.
That's good. So after the workout, go and have coffee.
Right.
Lovely. Okay, so I'd love to come and have a look at it.
Okay, well next week anytime, just give me a call and I'll take you there.
All right, great. Thanks.
Now you were saying that you worked in radio and at a young age, but then you went back to it much later in life. Can you talk about that?
I did. Well, when I was 21 years old, I got headhunted to do a show. This show was basically a freelance show that had to be done in 3 different languages at the same time. So the range of audience was quite broad. And the show was basically anything I wanted to talk about. So quite often I talked about music, current events, anything political, anything non-political, anything that came to my mind I would talk about.
So what were the 3 languages of the show?
Hindi, Punjabi, and obviously English.
Okay, and what was the city? Where was this at?
This was in Auckland.
Okay, so this was one of these kind of blended radio shows where you slip from one language to another?
It was. Well, the show was catering for everybody, basically. So the criteria was speak in a way that makes people understand, even if they don't speak the language. So the trick was to say 1/3 in English, the rest in Hindi and Punjabi, where I could, and somehow it just made sense.
How do you go about doing that? Like, did you plan it, or does it just kind of roll off your tongue?
For me, I think it's quite natural because my parents speak in Hindi and Punjabi, and so for me, English is quite natural, and so are the other 2 languages. Blending them together was never a problem.
Now, when you hear languages being switched back and forth like that, are you conscious of it, or sometimes are you not even conscious that you're speaking one language or the other?
I don't think I'm conscious of it at all. It just happens. It's a slip of tongue. All 3 languages I'm quite fluent in. So for me, to switch from one to the other is just a natural course of a day.
So since you have experience in the music industry, what do you think makes a good DJ?
A good DJ is one that's neutral when they need to be, and one who can switch sides very quickly and make things controversial from being neutral. What I mean by that is if you have an interesting topic and a caller calls you up and is very positive about it, a good DJ would be able to flip it over very quickly and say something that would make it controversial.
Now, do you think there's a certain balance, like how much you should talk and how much music should be played? And
there is absolutely a balance. Quite often people listen to radio for music. So you need to make sure that your music ratio is more than how much you talk. But the amount you talk has to be interesting, but quite limited.
All right, thanks a lot.
No, you're welcome.
So, Shafani, you were saying that you actually worked in radio from an early age. Can you talk a little bit about that?
That's right. Well, I worked on the radio at the age of 12. What basically happened was that I used to call up the radio station quite a lot, answer questions and quizzes and all that sort of stuff. And one of the announcers thought my voice was nice and so wanted me to come and work for him. Without realizing that I was 12 years old, he called me in and had me on.
So, were you a little scared? I mean, you're only 12.
It was very daunting at first. So the first couple of days, I had no idea what was going on. There was a massive microphone in front of my face, and I was told to make this show fun and interesting. So yes, it was very daunting.
Did you have any prep, or did they just stick you in front of the mic and have you react?
No, actually, there was no prompt. There were no prompts. It was all up to me. I had to come up with stuff on the spot, which was quite easy, really, because the topics were simple. It was mainly about music.
Oh, like teen stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Or anything that people called up and talked about. It's very, very childish stuff, but mainly geared at teenagers.
How did your parents feel about it?
Very proud of me, obviously. At the age of 12, their daughter was a DJ. What could be better than that? So they really enjoyed it. I remember they would listen to it every single time, record it, and then listen to it over and over again when they could.
Oh, that's fantastic. So, were you like a little celebrity at your school?
I ended up becoming one. A lot of my friends also did the same recording of my voice on the radio. It was a big thing to be a radio person and being only 12. So my friends thought it was absolutely fantastic, and they would take it to school and quite often play it around. So yeah, I ended up getting a celebrity status.
So when you were young and you were this DJ, did you envision yourself of being a DJ for a long time?
Actually, no, I hadn't. I really enjoyed it, had a lot of fun, but it was a hobby. It was never something I wanted to do as a profession.
So in the future, if you had a child and they wanted to do this, would you encourage them to do it?
I absolutely would, because if they enjoy it, and they enjoy it so much that they want to take it up as a career, why not? With me, it was a hobby.
Now, what about podcasts? Like, would you encourage young people to maybe have their own podcast?
I think that's a fantastic idea. I think it's really good to be able to express yourself And through podcasts, they can do exactly that.
Hey, Warren.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. I thought today we could talk about childhood dreams. When you were 10 years old, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Right. Well, actually, it's a little embarrassing. I wanted to be a truck driver. I thought it would be really neat because you can just travel around everywhere and see different places all the time, and you're always on the move. But, you know, I didn't become a truck driver.
No, you didn't become a truck driver. Why is that? When did your dream change?
Well, probably when I was around 15, I thought it would be a lot cooler to be a rock star.
Rock star?
Yeah, rock star. I really liked electric guitar at the time, and a lot of my friends were into music as well. So I didn't actually start a band, but I played with a lot of different people, and sometimes I would play with some bands, but I never really stuck to it. But I did keep playing guitar, and I ended up getting pretty good.
What kind of rock star did you want to be? Did you want to be like a heavy metal rock star or a grunge rock star?
Well, I guess versatile would be the word. I like playing a lot of heavy stuff and maybe some folk music as well. So kind of eclectic.
So maybe a hippie rock star?
Yeah, maybe a hippie.
So then when you were 20, did you still want to be a rock star?
No, I didn't, but I still played guitar then. I actually wanted to be a classical guitarist by then.
Okay. What is classical guitar?
Well, it's funny you say that because it's not just classical music. Classical guitar is for one thing, it's a type of guitar. It has nylon strings, not the steel strings like you see on a folk guitar.
Okay.
And there's different styles you can play on it, like Spanish music or flamenco, South American music, some classical music like Beethoven and things like that, or Baroque music like
Does it
Bach.
have a singer with it? Or?
Sometimes there are singers. Usually it's solo, but you can play some chamber music with other instruments as well. And yeah, I played some pieces with vocalists, but it wouldn't be pop music.
And so now you're older.
Mm-hmm.
Did your dream come true? Did you become a classical guitarist?
I did, but I actually decided to change my dream after I became a classical guitarist.
So what's your dream now?
Well, my dream now is to become a university professor.
Oh, and are you making steps to achieve that dream?
I am actually. I'm working at a university now, not as a professor, as a part-time lecturer, but I'm taking some courses and studying hard and hoping that my future will allow me to become a professor.
Okay. Well, unless you change your dream again, I bet you'll achieve your dream, Warren. So good luck.
Oh, great. Thank you. So, Lindsay, what about your dreams? What did you want to be when you were 10 years old?
Well, when I was 10 years old, I wasn't very realistic, but I knew I wanted to be very powerful. So I thought the dream job would be Wonder Woman. She can fly anywhere. She has the powers to do good and to help everyone. And she's very badass. So I wanted to be just like her. Unfortunately, it didn't come true, as I'm not Wonder Woman right now.
No, I can see that, but it seems like you had a good imagination as a kid. But I guess that probably changed as you got older. What about when you were 15?
Well, then when I was 15, I still wanted to be very powerful and very strong, but I had a more realistic idea of what I wanted to be. But I still didn't know a lot about the world, so I just wanted to be a very powerful businesswoman. I had no idea what kind of business, and I had no idea what that actually meant, but I wanted to wear an all-black suit and have a briefcase and go to work in a nice office and drive a nice car and do something that was very powerful. But I had no idea really what a powerful businesswoman does.
Oh, well, that seems like a pretty good dream for a 15-year-old. But I guess you probably had a better idea when you were 20, so what about then?
So when I was 20, then I still wanted to be powerful and strong. I guess you can see the common theme here. But then I had even more realistic idea of actual real professions. So at that time, I was quite social. I really enjoyed going to parties. And I was living in New York at the time. So I thought the perfect job for me would be a public relations specialist. I thought I could be one of those people that plans parties or handles the PR, the publicity for celebrities. I had a dream of maybe working for Madonna or working for a famous TV show and handling all their publicity representation.
Oh, well, that's great. It seems like you had a better idea by the time you were 20. But I guess you probably have some dreams now even. So what kind of dreams do you have now?
Well, then when I was 20, I was quite egotistical. I just only thought about myself and how I could have more money and be more powerful. But then something changed when I started traveling and seeing the world, where I decided that I'd rather have a job that does something good for the world and gives back to the community and to the people. So now I'm a teacher, and I really enjoy that, the idea of making a difference in people's lives. And in the future, maybe when I get older, I hope to start an animal shelter so that when animals are left on the street or abandoned, they can come to my shelter and I can provide a happy home for them.
Wow, that's a great vision for the future.
Thanks.
Hi, Jake. How are you today?
Good. How are you, Shirley?
Not too bad, thanks. I thought we might talk about folk heroes today.
Sure.
I don't really know much about American folk heroes. Are there
Sure.
any that you have a favorite or?
Well, actually, my hometown in the United States happens to be known as one of the hometowns for Paul Bunyan. And
I think I've heard of that name, but I don't know anything about him.
Paul Bunyan was a lumberjack. Like, he would cut down trees.
Okay.
And he was supposedly a very giant man. He was huge. And I don't know if he actually ever lived in some time in the past, but maybe he was just a very large man, but somehow the stories have been passed down to say that he was as large as a house or as large as a skyscraper, or it completely depends on who you ask.
Wow. So not sure whether he's a mythical character or a real character.
No one really knows for sure.
What did he do?
Well, some people say that he took his axe and he dragged it behind his back across the United States, and he made the Mississippi River.
So it's a kind of story to explain why something exists.
That's part of it. And also, he had a pet, too. His pet is very famous.
And what kind of pet?
His pet was an ox, but it wasn't just an ordinary ox. It was a blue ox, and it was also oversized to
Okay.
fit with his size.
What did his pet do?
Well, his pet, I think, would just carry lumber for him or something.
So about when did this story start? I mean, when did Paul Bunyan become famous, or when did people know about that story?
Well, I'm not exactly sure, but like your country, the United States is a very young country and has a very young history since the European settlers came there. So I think it's maybe from a couple hundred years ago, maybe at the most.
Okay.
You've lived in 3 different parts of the world, so is there any difference between each part in terms of physical contact?
Yeah, I have lived in Hong Kong, Guam, and the U.S. Hong Kong is in Asia, Guam is in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and the U.S. is American culture. So in Hong Kong, I think most people would not touch each other, just give each other a little bow. I find that a bow is very common in Asia. If you're very good friends, you wouldn't really hug. Hugging, I think, is a very American thing to do. I think you would just touch each other on the shoulder or give each other a side embrace, a mini hug. In Guam, you would definitely greet your friends and family with a kiss on the cheek. A handshake is much too formal for island culture because island culture is so relaxed and laid back. you would only do a handshake with business partners or in a really formal setting. But usually a kiss on the cheek is what you receive and give when you see your family and friends. In the US, hugging is most common, I think, for friends and family. But if you're not friends and family, a handshake would probably be the most common.
Is the handshakes always the same, or is there different styles of handshake?
From what I've observed, Guam has American culture, so Guam handshakes and US handshakes are the same. I think in Hong Kong, it's got a British background, so that's also very similar. I don't see any difference with the handshake.
So what about young people? Is there a different way they interact physically with each other?
Yes, definitely. In Guam, I always see people do a fist bump for close buddies of theirs. Girls would definitely hug and give each other a kiss. In Hong Kong, I don't see the fist bump often. I don't think I've ever seen it at all, actually. But for close friends, I think a side embrace or a semi-embrace would happen, but mostly just some form of touch or acknowledgement of the other person. I think it's also very common for people of the same sex to hold hands in Asia and just be friends. Woman and woman hold each other's hands if they are very, very, very good friends. And it's apparently very normal. I don't know about a guy holding another guy's hand, but if a woman and a woman hold each other's hands, it does not signal that they are together as a couple. It might just signal that they are very, very good friends or sisters.
In Australia, that would be very strange.
Yes, it would, wouldn't it? Even in America and Guam. So, Nick, let's talk about touching and holding hands and physical touch with your significant other. Do you and your partner hold hands when you go out in the street?
We hold hands all the time. Initially, when we first went out, holding hands was the first thing we did. They've progressively moved on from there to kissing, but holding hands was certainly the first thing we did in our relationship.
Do you remember when you first tried to hold her hand, or did she try to hold your hand first?
I made the first move. We were sitting on the couch watching a movie, and I was getting a bit nervous, and I couldn't quite concentrate on the movie, so I moved my hand over to hers, and she reciprocated and moved on from there. So,
you know, that's funny that you bring that up, because one of the most common moves that is made fun of in movies as well is when the guy takes a big yawn, a fake yawn, and he opens his arms wide and places it around the girl's shoulder and thus embraces her. But he had to do it because he yawned.
In my experience, like my first hug was like that as well. So it was just a bit of an excuse I was reaching for something, and then suddenly my hand went around, and she didn't mind. So
that's
it was a
very
good sign.
Good. And what about kissing? Do you kiss a lot in public, in the streets?
Rarely in public, because we find it makes other people uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's true. I find that when I see couples kissing or making out in public, I usually think to myself, why don't you get a room?
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to see that. You just want to be having a conversation with them, or you don't want them to be constantly distracted.
So, Shirley, we were talking about childhood memories. And you're from Scotland. There's anything from your childhood that you can tell us?
I know. I've got a really funny story, actually. maybe I was about 10 years old or something. And we used to have this little kind of shack in the countryside that we were dragged to every weekend, and away from civilization, you know, and no running water, no electricity. So we kids had to make our own fun. I've got my brothers, myself, and a couple of cousins. We would always go there at weekends or school holidays or something. And I mean, one of the highlight of our weekends was to go to the Sunday school, the Sunday morning church service. And one of the reasons this was attractive to the kids was because they bribed us to go there by giving us sweets when we got there. So it was great. So we always went anyway. It was a church service for about an hour and singing hymns and stuff like that. Anyway, this one Sunday we arrived early, about half an hour early. There was nobody there. The church wasn't open yet. So it was, as most people know, it rains a lot in Scotland. So on that rainy day, we all were wearing our cagoules, which is a kind of a rain jacket with a big pocket in the front. And while we were waiting for everybody else to arrive, we started just kind of playing around in the trees. There was a little river nearby. And it was at the time of year when the tadpoles were turning into baby frogs. So we got this crazy idea to collect all these. I mean, I'm talking hundreds of frogs were around. So we all got a big handful of baby frogs, put them in this big pocket of our cagoule, went off into church. So there we are. We're kind of in the middle of the crowd. You know, we weren't at the front or the back, kind of in the middle. And everybody's standing up singing the hymns and really getting into, you know, the church singing and stuff like that. And then we decided that we would get the frogs out. So each of us kids one at a time, kind of crouched down as if we were tying our shoelace and let all these frogs out of our pockets. So these tiny little frogs started jumping all over the church. And there's all these ladies in their Sunday best and started squealing and screaming, and the minister didn't know what was going on, and he's trying to keep everybody calm, and we're just singing along with the hymn, you know, we're really innocent, and they had no idea, because they didn't see us do it, so they had no idea what had happened. And yeah, I mean, we got away with it. We didn't get told off because we didn't get caught. And yeah, after the church service, you know, we had such a laugh after the church service. And yeah, that's one of my greatest childhood memories, getting up to mischief with my brothers.
Monica, you mentioned a farm homestay in New Zealand. Have you ever actually lived on a farm?
I haven't lived on a farm as such, but I've visited family friends who have lived on farms.
Oh, did you like it?
Yeah, I remember loving visiting my family friends on farms. Yeah, especially riding horses. I loved riding horses when I was young.
So are you good? Are you an equestrian professional?
I wouldn't say that. I do remember one time my mother always seems to tell people this story about when I was young, and we were at her friend's farm. I was on a horse, and the horse took off, and I was only about, I think, 10 at the time, and I was hanging off the side of this horse, and my mother was really worried for me.
Yeah.
And then when the horse finally stopped, she, she came running up and asked me if I was okay and things. And apparently I said to her, "Oh, it's okay. I wanted it to go fast."
That's cute. You're lucky you didn't get hurt, though.
Yeah, well, I guess I just didn't sense the danger.
Actually, I kind of grew up on a farm. My grandfather had a ranch growing up, so I spent every summer on his ranch. So I have quite I guess I have a lot of experience.
Oh,
on a farm.
okay.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I remember when I was young, I thought the life on a farm was just the best. I mean, I had it so good, and I loved everything about living on a farm, and I thought when I was going to get older, I would want to be on a farm, but now that I'm older, I couldn't imagine doing it ever again.
Oh, what can't you imagine doing?
I don't know. I guess I just couldn't imagine all that work. And I think I'm just so addicted to city life or suburban life. and living in a house and just doing work on computers and things like that. I couldn't go back to that lifestyle. But when I was young, I have to admit, I enjoyed it a lot. So how about you? Could you see yourself moving and living on a farm?
Well, yeah, I think my thoughts are similar to yours in that I'm very used to being inside using a computer, and I'm used to a very different lifestyle to one that involves being on a farm. But yeah, I've never had a long period of time where I've stayed on a farm like you, so yeah, maybe it's a bit different for me.
So Monica, you are from New Zealand?
Yes, that's right.
So for people going to New Zealand, what would you recommend? What are 3 or 4 places that you must see in New Zealand?
Oh, okay, 3 or 4 places you must see. Well, depends what you're looking for, really. I think a lot of people that come to New Zealand enjoy an outdoor lifestyle, so there's lots of outdoor activities and places you can go to enjoy in New Zealand. Personally, I find the South Island of New Zealand very scenic in comparison to the North Island. So for me, a must-do is the west coast of the South Island. It's very pretty.
The west coast?
Yeah. In particular, there's 2 glaciers, Franz Josef and Fox glaciers, which are very stunning to look at. And you can either have a look at them by foot, or you can pay for a helicopter ride that takes you up and shows you an aerial view of them.
Now, do people ever walk across the glaciers?
There are guides that can walk you across. Yeah, I haven't done it personally, but it is possible.
So what else would you recommend for New Zealand? What other places should people see?
I think if you want to see, let me think, rural New Zealand, it's quite a nice idea to drive the length of the country, and then you can see the interesting farming that has taken place, in particular in the South Island, the lower part of the South Island, and a lot of the North Island as well. There's a lot of sheep in New Zealand, and there's a lot of cattle as well. So I think it is always interesting to go for a drive and to see that firsthand.
So you just start up in Auckland in the north and drive all the way down south?
Yeah, well, there's many ways you can do it, but I recommend one way of doing it is to arrive in Auckland and to have an experience of a big city, well, a big city for New Zealand, and then drive down the centre of the North Island and maybe have a farming experience somewhere. There's a lot of farm stay opportunities available for tourists who come to New Zealand. So depending on how you do it, you might want to stay 2 or 3 days with a family and experience a farming lifestyle. So that's, one thing I'd recommend. And another is to maybe go to a city like Rotorua, which is really in the centre of the North Island, and experience Māori culture. There's a Māori village there near the Whakarewa forest, which hosts a lot of tourists, and you get to experience Māori waiata, which is Māori songs, and you get to see the hot springs in New Zealand and thermal mud pools. So Rotorua is a nice city to go and visit, and then work your way down to the capital of New Zealand, which is Wellington. And I think if you want to experience the cafe lifestyle of New Zealand, that's a good place to go.
So, Monica, a minute ago we were talking about Tai Chi and about how it helps longevity, helps you live a long life. One time when I was in Bangkok, I met a guy, and he was doing Tai Chi, and he looked really young, but he said the secret to his old life, he said the secret to looking young was Tai Chi and cold showers. He took a cold shower every morning.
Wow.
Could you do that?
No, I don't think I could, actually.
Yeah, I actually tried it for a while. I tried it for about a week, and I did feel so energized. And it was easy in Bangkok, so it's really warm. But I couldn't keep it up, especially now that I'm in a cold climate. There's no way.
Yeah, I remember when I was young, my mother used to teach me to splash my face with cold water in the morning because she believed that helped wake you up. And I remember as a child not liking that at all because I just found it too cold.
Right.
So I preferred to splash my face with warm water.
So, have you heard of any other secrets to having a long life?
Yeah, I've heard of quite a few different secrets to having a long life. I guess one secret that a lot of different cultural groups seem to share is diet. If you take the Japanese as an example, and Japanese people do have a long life expectancy in comparison to other people from other countries. I think the Japanese eat a diet that's quite low in fat and reasonably low in salt as well. And I think their fluid intake is quite healthy because they drink a lot of green tea, which has antioxidants in it, and they drink a lot of miso soup, which has a lot of vegetables in it and is made from fermented barley. So I think that's very healthy.
I've also heard that people in the Mediterranean, they also often have a long lifespan in certain regions, and maybe the combination of wine, just a little wine, not too much, but wine and olive oil, and then a lot of fish, seafood, is also maybe beneficial to a long life.
Yeah, that's true. I've heard French people, for example, live a long life, and that has often been said due to a glass of red wine a day. And I know people think differently about alcohol and its effect on the body these days.
Right.
Yeah, because alcohol used to be considered quite a bad thing and discouraged in all forms, but now people tend to think that a glass a day is actually quite beneficial to your health.
I've also actually heard that laughter, that people that laugh a lot tend to live longer.
Yeah, I've heard that too, actually, because laughing releases natural endorphins, and I think that helps you physiologically, and also I think psychologically you're happier if you're laughing. So, yeah, I think that long life is related to how you're feeling, and I think a lot of it's psychological as well as physical, for example, how much you're eating and what types of food you're eating.
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of in the same boat, but I just don't know if I laugh that much. Maybe I'm in trouble. So, Monica, you do Tai Chi.
Yes, I've just joined a Tai Chi club.
What made you join the Tai Chi club?
Well, I wanted to do something that was a lot different to what I usually do, which is high-impact sports like basketball and tennis.
So you wanted to do something that was slower.
Yeah, well, I don't usually enjoy exercise that is quite slow, such as yoga, but I decided to join this club and I'm really enjoying it.
So what exactly is Tai Chi? What do you do in Tai Chi?
Well, there are different types of Tai Chi. There's the original Tai Chi, which involves quite quick, fast movements. And then there's a slower form of Tai Chi, which is quite popular in Japan. I think it's called Mr. Young Tai Chi. And that involves very slow, pronounced movements. And that's the Tai Chi that I'm doing.
How do you feel like after you do Tai Chi? Do you feel tired? Do you feel energetic?
After I've done Tai Chi, I feel quite energetic, actually. I don't really feel tired because I haven't had a really hard workout. But I feel that my mind is very relaxed and very focused, and I'm very motivated to do whatever I need to do for the rest of the day.
Now, you actually are a tennis coach, so you teach sports. Would you recommend Tai Chi for other athletes?
Yeah, I do recommend Tai Chi for other athletes. It's quite difficult to know exactly how you would benefit from Tai Chi and how it can directly relate to a specific sport. But I've heard that it works on your energy levels and focuses your mind so that everything's in balance. And I think that can help any kind of sport, because even in a sport like tennis, it's important to have balance when you're hitting the ball, when you're volleying, when you're getting ready for a smash. It actually involves having balance in terms of where your center of gravity is. So yeah, the concepts are similar.
Hey, George, actually, it's really, it's funny that you mentioned relationships, because I'm actually having a problem with Joe.
Is that the guy with the curly hair?
Yeah, that guy.
Oh.
He's really nice and everything, but, I really don't think it's working out.
Why? What's wrong?
Well, he's really narrow-minded, and I'm really different. He's nice and everything. He's kind and sweet, and it's just not for me. We're totally different people.
I see.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna do?
I think I have to rip the Band-Aid, and I think I'm just gonna send him an email or something.
An email? But you've been dating for a while now, and you like him, right?
Yeah, we're so sweet together, but it's just
Isn't
I don't see a future.
But isn't an email just a little too cold? And
Yeah.
you might tell other people about it. I mean, rumors spreading and whatnot.
Okay, then what do you think I should do? How should I do it?
Well, you should probably just, meet him face to face and...
Oh, face to
You know?
face. Okay. Where should I meet him? Do you think I should just invite him over to my place?
Nah, you should probably do it in public where,
Oh, good. I think that's
I don't know,
better.
maybe that cafe.
Oh, that cafe, yeah.
Well, while I'm having my date, you could be breaking up with your boyfriend. It'll be great.
You're so mean.
I'm sorry, that was uncalled for.
I don't know what to say. What do you think would hurt him less?
I gotta say, honesty would be the best policy.
Honesty. Okay, so
Mhm.
this is what I'm gonna say. Joe, you're great,
Mm-hmm.
but we're not meant to be.
I
How's
see.
that?
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Okay, so okay, I'm done. I think I'll meet him at the cafe, and okay, things will work from then. I'll improvise.
Great. Hey, Crystal, I need some advice, yo.
What's up, George?
So, there's this, redheaded girl in class, and I kind of got a crush on her, but...
Ooh.
But, yeah, I don't know, how to ask her out. I don't even know if she knows my name, but, yeah.
Oh, come on.
You got any advice?
I would personally just be natural and just go straight forward.
Go straight forward
And ask her out.
How I do that?
I don't know. For my personal advice, I think you should just go straight forward and say, "Hi, my name is George," and give
Mhm.
her an appearance.
Hold on, I'm going to write this down.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, and next step is if you are free, no, you always have to check if she's either married or if she's a lesbian
Mhm.
or if she is single.
Okay.
So number 3 is what you're looking for.
Okay, number 3.
So if she's single, just say, hey, how about we go out for a cup of coffee or something?
Mm-hmm.
And,
Coffee.
And yeah, that's how you get her.
So yeah, what if she doesn't like coffee though? I mean, what else could we do on a date? Assuming she will say yes. Yeah, what's fun to do on a date anyway?
Fun to do on a date is just the fact that you're being with her and just try to get her to know her more.
Hey, wait 1 sec. Do I need to pay for this or?
I don't think you should pay on the first date. I think sometimes that can be offensive to women.
Oh, that's great because I'm totally broke.
I think you should just ask her casually, not like a date. Just say, hey, I would like to know you a little bit more, and just go out for a small little drink. Like, go to that new cafe that's open. Like a lot of girls think that place is so cute. I think you should take her there.
But I think cafes are boring.
Cafes are boring. Men! Women don't think so.
Oh.
This is the point.
Okay.
Write it down.
All right.